Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Yammy Noob. It's a beautiful, bright blue sky day here, 70 degrees in Texas. I'm sorry for all of you out there freezing in the winter season. Now we get to keep riding here after being horribly abused by the sun in the summer. Topic of today's video is the one reason why the Street Triple is unique and different in the category. And I'm going to bury the lead here. It's the frame. Now, let me explain a little bit about why that's so important. Back in 2006 and 7, when Triumph debuted the Daytona 675, it was the new kid on the block, a 3-cylinder 685cc homologated super sport bike designed to compete in World Superbike and be bleeding edge on the racetrack. They also launched the Street Triple right alongside it. They did a big brain move and they cross-platformed the naked bike from the sport bike. So, in the original Street Triple, you got a detuned 675cc triple making about 108 horsepower. However, you got all the goodies from the super sport bike. And the main goodie that you get in that is the frame. Fast forward 17 years later, almost 18 years later actually, because it's almost 2025. And the Street Triple still, to this day, has a Daytona-derived frame. If you look closely on the side of this motorcycle, you'll see that the aluminum twin-spar frame that this bike uses is remarkably similar, if not identical, to the 2013 to 2017 Daytona 675R. Now, you might say, yeah, what's the big deal? You know, it's a sport bike frame, so what? I'm sure other naked bikes in the category are plenty sporty. Yes, they are, but the best way I can explain this to you is if you were to drive a hot hatch versus a Corvette, one car has been modified and tuned from the factory, yes, to be more sporty, the Corolla. But it started life as an econo-box, right? And so it's always going to feel a little econo-box-esque. It's always going to have a little bit of that, well, you know, boy racer trying to be something it's not. Versus something like a Corvette was designed from the ground up to be what it is. It was designed to be a sports car. It's designed to be that way. The benefit of the Street Triple, having been first designed as a sport bike, is so much, right? The frame has a ton of lateral rigidity. I took this motorcycle out on track for the first ride and review, and I was genuinely really impressed at just how sporty and how willing this motorcycle was on track. And as we hit these bumps right here, that frame rigidity really comes into full view, right? You can absolutely tell that this is a really rock-solid frame. It's super agile and snappy side to side. And it's not just the fact that the frame is more snappy, more agile, more rigid. There's so much more that goes into motorcycle design than you may realize that really allows this bike to be as sporty as it can be. So when a motorcycle manufacturer builds a frame, you know, the geometry of the front end, the headstock position, you know, where the fork sits, how high it is, how low it is, how cantilevered it is, how much rake, how much angle it has, that all has to do with the fact of this motorcycle's headstock, right? And that comes down from the frame. A great example of this was the original MT-09 versus the third generation MT-09 when they massively changed the frame. Just how much that headstock was lowered, right? On a proper sport bike, that never would have happened. The other thing that happens too is the subframe. Where you're going to be seated on the motorcycle is impacted by how the frame is designed. If you look at the new category of not so super sport motorcycles, the GSX 8R, the Daytona 660, you can actually see that the tail is lower and kind of stumpier than it should be on a proper sport bike. Editor Josh, if we could please put a photo of a Daytona 675 right over here and then a Daytona 660 to the left of it, you can see that tail difference. You can see the ergonomic difference between those two motorcycles, and that's due to the fact of the positioning of the subframe. On a proper super sport machine, the subframe is higher to allow for taller pegs, you know, so the whole assembly is up further so you can get more dramatic lean angles. I shredded this thing around track. I never once touched a hard part. I guarantee you, if you took a GSX 8R on track or a Daytona 660, you're going to touch hard parts pretty darn quick. The other big thing that the frame informs is the position of the engine. This is something that not a lot of people talk about, but where the engine is positioned in the frame dramatically changes the way the motorcycle handles. On a motorcycle, you have 3 gyroscopes. You have the front wheel, the rear wheel, and you have the crank of the engine in the middle. Where the crank is positioned dramatically changes how this motorcycle is going to handle, right? If you put the crank really high up, you're going to have a motorcycle that falls over really fast. But you're also going to have a motorcycle that can resist different forces because of that gyroscope being so high, right? Conversely, if you put the center of gravity really low, if you put the crank really low, if you put the fuel really low, all that really low, you know, all of a sudden you're talking about building something like an adventure bike, right? Like my Touareg 660, everything sits really low because it's designed to go low speeds on dirt and trails and stuff, and that's not really ideal for a sport bike. MotoGP engineers obsess about engine position, forward and back, up and down, even left and right to some extent because of the V4 engines in those configurations. The bank angle as well of the cylinders. I mean, all of that dramatically changes handling. And when you start with the Super Sport frame, you're starting from the foundation up to already handle really, really well.
Triumph calls this color Cosmic Yellow on the Street Triple 765 RS, and I'd like to think it's cosmic because when you find out that you've won this motorcycle on YamiNoob.co, you're going to ascend to the heavens and be in a heaven-like cosmic state of existence as this thing wheels itself into your driveway because you won it on YamiNoob.co. Become a member on the website, get your chances locked and loaded, you'll join our Discord, get access to the newsletter. If that doesn't sound appealing, pick up a hat, a t-shirt, a hoodie. We sell all kinds of great stuff on the website. Every dollar you spend will not only support the show, but will also get you entered to win, subject to an amazing multiplier. Get entered to win this bike. Don't sleep on it.
From a reliability perspective too, I really prefer engines that are detuned from a higher state of tune into the current platform that they're in. And that really comes into effect on the Street Triple, for example, because this engine comes from the 765 Moto 2 platform. Triumph has been the engine supplier for the category, the intermediate category in Grand Prix racing since 2019, and that is a absolute grueling proving ground to show that their engines can be reliable under the most punishing of conditions, right? Like a Moto 2 race, a Moto 2 team, Grand Prix level, those guys are riding the absolute bananas off of these engines, right? And so when you take, like this motorcycle has, pistons from the Moto 2 derived engine, it's a 13.3 to 1 compression ratio, but it doesn't rev too high, right? It redlines at about 12.5, I think, maybe a little under 13. The original Daytona 675 actually revved all the way to 14,400 RPM. So as crazy as it sounds, this 765cc triple is actually detuned of what it could make. It's overbuilt, which is a great thing. It means that all of those learnings from the race program are going to make this motorcycle super reliable, at least in theory. It's still a Triumph, so it may have some weirdness over time. All these factors combined give the Street Triple an incredibly unique DNA. It means that this motorcycle has 17 years of track and racing pedigree. It's grown up, it's been battle tested and proven in the Moto 2 Crucible, and that really makes it very unique compared to the competition. You guys will probably see by the time this video goes out our detailed comparison video between this motorcycle and all of the motorcycles in the category. I try to give you guys a very complete and holistic look between all the different bikes in the category when we do a new giveaway bike, and this bike is no different. Another interesting point about the Street Triple and why it's very unique in the category is that this motorcycle has had to fulfill an old Super Sport hole before all the others in the category had to do it. The new generation Super Sport bikes like the new V2, the new R9, the RC990, all of those bikes except for the V2 were kind of like haphazardly thrown together to fit this new Super Sport category. This bike has evolved from a Super Sport bike and has had to then be the naked version of a Super Sport bike because Triumph decided to stop making a Daytona 675 in 2017. It remains to be seen if Triumph is actually going to bring back something to compete in this new not-so-Super Sport category. I think a Daytona 800 would be just mint. That would be so awesome. You guys comment down below if you'd like to see a new Daytona 800 that would just whoop up on a Yamaha R9. I would love to see something like that. That would make me super, super happy. Something similar to MV Agusta's F3, but from Triumph. A proper, you know, 125 horsepower-ish Super Sport that can be tuned up to 150. That'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, this bike had to play double duty all of a sudden. That's why it changed into the R and the RS model. It's why you can get a Moto 2 with clip-ons and stuff. It really totally kind of had to become this, you know, bike that fits two molds, basically. And you can really tell when you ride it around, it is very different than an MT-09. It is very different than all the other middleweight naked bikes. I mean, compared to a Z900, there is no comparison, right? Like, this is a proper, thoroughbred little sport bike. It doesn't really feel like a naked bike that's trying to be something it's not, or be super sporty for no reason. It was always sporty. And it's a reason why the Street Triple has always kind of been the benchmark in the category, right? It's always kind of been that bike that people really look to set the bar, set the barometer, set the temperature for what the naked middleweight category is supposed to be. And Triumph kind of knows that, right? They know they've got the best one in the bunch. And it's hard to argue with. It's a really, really sweet bike. So folks, I think that's going to wrap it up for today of the kind of key critical features of what makes the Street Triple so freaking unique in the category. And again, this frame, the handling, the whole package just really comes together just beautifully. As we rip a little bit on it here, that new tighter transmission is so sweet. Those gear ratios are tight on this thing. But yeah, folks, thank you so much for checking out today's video. And remember, it's a giveaway bike. I'm sure I told you that in the middle of the video. Make sure you go and get entered to win. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
All right, everybody, this video is over. There's no more to watch on this beautiful video between me and you, but this Triumph Street Triple 765 RS is available on yammynoob.co as a giveaway bike. Hit that link while you're waiting for the next video to load. Become a member. It'll take you as easy as 1, 2, 3, and then you're signed up to win. How cool is that? Papa Yam's giving away 54 bikes. You could be the next one.